Thank you all for being here today. My name is Rodrigo Leme. I'm a senior manager at Bank of Montreal, lead for analytics in the M&A technology team. In this session today, we're gonna go over a case study, a real case study, as you guys can see by the session title, which is a journey that BMO embarked from Chicago, Illinois to San Francisco, California. But this is not a normal flight. In fact, passengers and pilots would face the most adverse conditions you can imagine. If we had to rank across all flights in North America banking history, this flight would be ranked as number 2 in North America since 2010. If you looked just for Canada, that will be ranked as number 1. The plane and pilot carrying a total of 2 million passengers with $60 billion in deposits. Our plane cargo is holding 500 branches and $16 billion were invested to make this happen. The plane and the pilot is used to only be in the Midwest region of United States, but now they're all being requested to fly all the way west to San Francisco, California. BMO had a 2-year runway to prepare for this flight. And as you guys can imagine, if we forgot to tie one bolt in this plane, you could expect at a minimum for the plane's door to blow off in the middle of the takeoff. Quite detrimental to BMO's image and reputation, similar to how we see to Boeing now today. So M&A analytics team, which today I'm proud to lead, was assigned a responsibility to come up with new tracking and reporting methodologies to make sure we all had a soft landing at the end of these 2 years. And we developed these 6 different modules to ensure we achieved that goal. Now, some of the modules I'm gonna display here today and the concepts could be quite M&A specific, but I'm gonna tell you all, if you have a need to deliver on any complex initiative where you need to track the progress, financial spending, this presentation is also for you. You might not need all the concepts and the complexity of what we developed, but you can certainly cherry pick some of the ideas and apply it back home to your own environment at work. The first one we're gonna go over is the cross-domain framework. This is a concept that we applied across all our reports to maintain consistency and improve user experience. I like to use here an analogy of Apple products. If anyone is an iPhone user and you pick an iPad for the first time, I guarantee you're gonna have a seamless experience. It's exactly the same way you log in, swipe up, left and right to go to the applications. It behaves exactly the same. So we wanted the same concept applied to every single report that we were deploying during those 2 years. The last thing we need is noise when a new report comes out to end users. So they need to be familiar with how the reports are structured. We also see here matrix, which is the way we maintain consistent slice and dice of the data. You see the columns on the far right, the total. As you navigate to the left, you go to the most granular levels. The same applies from a role perspective. So across most of our modules, you would have a total of 20 different views, ways to see the same set of KPIs. Again, guys, consistency, improve user experience, all right? For more of the technical folks here in the audience, which I think is most of you, you can also start thinking about the model, all right? What does that mean behind the scenes? We kept our core dimensions the same and applied across the different facts, the different data sets that we had. Example, let's say my stakeholder came to me and asked, I need to know the team that expend the most on task execution. I go straight to him and I give that information. That's easy. I can also provide him the team that executed the most test cases. But because my dimension table is the same among those two applications, I can now go on one step further. I can tell him the team that executed the most test cases, but spend the least. So the team that's most efficient, because my dimensions are the same, right? If that still doesn't make sense, hold on, because we're gonna apply the cross-domain framework into our schedule module. Our schedule module is what we developed to track the progress of the actual integration. You see on the far right, all the KPIs that we utilized to track the percentage completion, work status, and the finish date. Again, only using Power Platforms to do all this. We used Power BI, Power Automate, and Microsoft Project files. That's it, and I'm gonna show to you guys the actual data model shortly. Using the cross-domain framework, let's pick one of the sets of KPIs. We can know now a specific task, percentage completion, work status for that specific task per finish date at a phase of the SDLC. You can go one granularity higher, go to the application level, domain, so on. You guys now get the concept, right? This is how the report would actually look like. Again, the information being displayed here is completely fictitious and for demonstration purposes, but you guys get an idea of what we had, okay? You see at the far top here, the overall percentage completions across all the teams spread through the SDLC phases. SDLC stands for Software Delivery Life Cycle. And you have here the main grid, the schedule summary, that will provide you the breakdown for each team. You can drill down from team 1 to level 2 to a specific application, to a specific task. Everything right here in one view. So how do we design all this? We had a PWA site with over hundreds of Microsoft project files. Each one of those files was managed by one PM, okay? Again, we're talking about a $16 billion initiative, so you can think about the immense effort that it took to do all this. We connected to a Power BI data set through Power Automate because, yeah, I see some faces on the audience, because we needed condition on the refresh logic, right? From the Power BI data set, we then had, of course, the Power BI report that I just displayed, as well as email notification to end users. Not everyone opens Power BI every day, but they do open their Outlook. Here are a couple links. This presentation will be available to all of you in case you want to replicate this at your own environment. Again, we only have 20 minutes. Can't get too much technical, right? Next is the testing module. This is what we utilize to track all the testing execution throughout all those lines of code that were being developed to integrate both banks. On the far right, you see all the set of KPIs that we were tracking. And on the far left, the apps that we utilized, Power BI, Power Automate again, and SharePoint as the repository. Utilizing the cross-domain framework, you can see now that we have 15 different views. And this is how the report would actually look like, okay? There's a lot going on in here. But you can see that the framework and the report is quite consistent with the one I just displayed on the schedule module, right? At the top, you see the totals, test cases schedule, executed, but I want you to pay attention to the top right corner, the rates of change, right? How many test cases were percentage increased week over week or day over day, okay? That was a functionality that we had for the test module. How do we design all this? The test cases were actually executed in an ALM application. We started extracting that through a Power Automate bot that will put that into a SharePoint folder. We had another Power Automate watcher on that folder. Every time a file arrived, it would trigger the data set to refresh. From there, the pattern is exactly the same. Email notifications, Power BI report. Financials. This was most of the more straightforward module that we had across all of them. Just tracking financial expenditure across all those different teams, how much is actually costing us to integrate. Those are the different views that we had. And this is just a section, okay, of the report with the KPIs that we had. And this, again, is the most straightforward. We actually connected to a database. It was the only module that we had connected to a database. Think about that. Next is the playbook. This is quite M&A specific. For the folks that are not familiar with the playbook concept, this is where we track at the minute level all the set of activities that must happen within a short period of time. So in our case for BMO, it was roughly 3 days. So it was a long weekend that we pretty much closed the banks. We pick a holiday, and for within those three days, we convert all the applications, right? But we track at every minute. We have a list of all the tasks, all the activities that must happen within that period of time. On the far right, you see the set of KPIs that we were tracking. And for this one, we developed it with Power BI reports, Power Apps for a custom form on top of SharePoint list, and Power Automate. Set of views that we have, and here's how the report actually looks like. You might be thinking, okay, the test was quite full, a lot of KPIs. Why is this one empty? We did it on purpose, because I want you guys to see the framework. Imagine the numbers at the top. This data set was refreshed near real time. At the top, you see the rates of change, right? On the left here is the status report that was provided by the war room on a 4-hour cadence. We also came up with a critical path Power BI concept. This is not the actual critical path that we had displayed in the war room and to the entire bank, but gives you guys an idea of what we had, right? It was a set of activities with their dependencies, the color providing the status, red, green, and yellow, if you're late, at risk, or in progress, and the duration, actual duration with planned duration, okay? At the top, look at that, the overall. How many hours and minutes are we ahead from our plan or behind? And right next to it, a clock that will tell us, to everyone in the bank, how many hours and minutes we had left until the bank opened its doors. So it gave everyone that sense of emergency, right? The clock's ticking, you gotta go, right? And no one could complain they don't understand where we are at, because they could see exactly where we are from an integration perspective. How do we design this? Believe me or not, we did it on top of a SharePoint list with Microsoft Apps form developed on top of it. Yes, we developed a $16 billion integration on top of SharePoint lists. I'm gonna take some water here while it sinks. Next is the social media, right? doesn't matter, we complete our integration, we open the bank, but we don't track what you guys are saying, if you guys have any complaints. So this was the way we developed to track, be proactive on what you guys were talking on Twitter. I mean, X. Those are the set of KPIs. This is how the report would actually look like. Okay, so we had this available as soon as we opened the bank to actually see what was happening, be proactive. Anyone complain, we could fix it before they call our call center, okay? How do we develop this? We built Python scripts that would hook to Twitter APIs. We extract files to a SharePoint list. From there, we had a Power Automate trigger that would refresh the Power BI data set as soon as the file landed there. So, at the end of those 2 years, did we have a soft landing or not? I'm not gonna tell you, I'm gonna just give you guys what the market and the industry are talking about it. Quite recent, couple of days back, BMO just won the Celent Award for Integration Excellence. Right after the integration concluded, RBC also published an analysis with quite positive feedback on BMO's integration. And last is Jefferies just published rating on all the 8 Canadian banks, and only BMO and CIBC were rated by across all the banks. And they also did add notes about the excellence on the integration. So conclude here the presentation, open for any questions that we might have in the audience. Lou? Yeah. First question was effort, and second question, if any other financial services has something similar. So from an effort perspective, I think at the peak of the integration, we had a team of 6 developers, with me included. These were folks to actually develop the reports and actually maintain them. That was at the peak, but it's not only the 6 of us. This was a full bank effort, a team effort. Many of the ideas we received to develop those KPIs came from folks that were working on the integration. So none of this would be possible, just the 6 of us. Was actually a complete enterprise effort. So everyone got kudos for that. Next question is other financial services. We did get a review from M&A Partners, which is a well-known consulting company in the M&A space. And their feedback on the set of analysis that we developed, they say that no other bank in US has something similar and as robust. Okay? Any other questions in the audience? One back there. What I'm gonna do different? Good. Great question, man. I would be, we developed all of this on the fly, all right? So it was quite a nightmare and a lot of weight to kind of build all this as the integration was happening. So our effort at the moment is to actually have this all ready as soon as BMO gets into another deal, all right? Any other question? Yes? Yeah. The playbook, yeah, was minute by minute. The schedule was also near real time. The test was twice a day. Financials was once a day. Most of them was at minimum a daily refresh. Only the most criticals were near real time, playbook and the schedule. Stakeholder support, my friend. Stakeholder support is critical, right? I'm just an average guy, you know, I'm senior manager. I can say as much as I want, but if you don't have stakeholder support, it's not gonna be that easy. Okay, so they were driving people to make these changes. They were getting the notifications that I showed you on their Outlook that teams were behind. So they would go ahead and say, hey, what's happening, okay? All right, we are out of time. I appreciate you all. Thank you.